Hi everybody. So thank you so much for signing up for this webinar. It's not really so much a webinar anymore. I do apologize. I'm in Bali where the Wi-Fi is not so good, and so I realized recently that the whole live thing wasn't gonna work. But I'm just gonna talk through exactly what I was going to say in the live. It's just pre-recorded. And I had prepared some slide notes as well. They're nothing special, but if you're the kind of person who likes a little bit of a visual aid, click the link in the comments and that should open up some, just something to look at besides me as we go through this. So, this is my opportunity to share with all of you how I became a world-traveling yoga teacher, and hopefully how you can apply my experience and what I have to say today to how you can do the same, whether that's traveling to be anything, a yoga teacher, or just traveling, or doing some other kind of work abroad. It's just about facing your fears and living your wildest dreams. So let's get started. Okay, so I made this webinar for anybody really who maybe you want to do what I've done. You become a yoga teacher who travels the world and teaches in some of the coolest places on the planet. Maybe you're not a yoga teacher and you just want to travel and get paid. I'm going to be talking a bit about like yoga teacher stuff in particular because that's my experience, but this is really going to be applicable to anybody who just wants to follow their traveling dreams but isn't quite sure how to start. Or maybe you just feel stuck and you don't quite know how to make the changes necessary to live your dreams. Maybe you know what you want to do, you know what you need to do, but the thought of just taking action and making that first step is scary. I know how that feels. I've been there multiple times. Or perhaps you're ready to go and nothing's stopping you and you're like, I'm not scared. I just don't know what that first step should be. So, or maybe you're thinking about going traveling, but you're not quite sure that traveling is right for you. That's cool too. So either way, I hope that what you get from this webinar is what it's like to adopt this lifestyle. So it's adventurous and fun and exciting, but it's not always easy. So I'm going to cover the challenges and the struggles as well as how awesome it is. And I'm going to share with you what I've learned along the way. Basically, all the things that I wish I'd known when I first got started. And we're going to cover what it takes to make that big decision to begin traveling and just how to take that leap of faith towards living your dreams. And I'm staying hydrated with tea. I hope you don't mind me slurping. So, most people don't follow their dreams. It's the truth, it's the sad truth. Why is that? I've spoken to people all over the world about following their dreams, and whether it's quitting a job you hate or moving to a new city, it always comes down to the same thing: fear. But more specifically, it's about letting fear control you rather than you controlling your fear. Because fear is normal and healthy. Without it, you wouldn't look before crossing a busy street and you'd get hit by a bus or something. So fear is normal and natural and a perfectly good thing to have. So it's not about becoming fearless. It's about being in control of your fears and facing them head on. So, it's okay if going alone to a foreign country scares the crap out of you. I've been there. It used to scare the crap out of me. And if you feel seriously uncomfortable, maybe like leaving your friends and family and not knowing a single person where you're going, if that makes you want to cry, that's fine. That's cool. What's important is that you don't then let that fear stop you. So the difference between people who live their dreams and people who don't is that the people who go after what they really want, they still feel the fear, but they do it anyway. They don't let it control them. They don't give in to those fearful thoughts. So we're going to cover a little bit about that. But before I really launch into the deep stuff, it's probably a good idea if I just introduce myself. Who is Adell Bridges anyway? A bit about me. I first caught the travel bug when I was 18, and at 19 I moved abroad. And since then I've been trying to travel as much as possible. But it wasn't until January of this year that I became like completely nomadic as a yoga teacher, teaching workshops in different places all over the world. And I'll tell you a little bit about that journey later, but first, I'm a weirdo. I want to emphasize that this makes me a weirdo. This lifestyle is not standard. It's not average. It's not normal. And this is, of course, why people ask me all the time about it and why I created this webinar, this video. Of course, some people like yourselves, you think it's super cool. And I get a lot of people, I get a lot of people treating me like I'm insane as well, though. For some people, it's just not right. And that's fine. And you have to remember that there's going to be people who question this lifestyle, or they don't understand it. Maybe they even advise against it. And that's because for them it's not a wise path. And they have the best intentions in mind when they tell you it's not a good idea. But remember this, for everything, not just for the traveling, but for everything in your life. Don't take advice from somebody who's not living a life that you want. It's like you wouldn't take nutritional advice from somebody who's like seriously unhealthy and like wheezing as they try and get up the stairs, and they're like, you know, never exercising and eating fast food. So if there's, you know, you got friends or family and they're saying like, are you sure this is a good idea? And then you look at their life and they've never really gone for their dreams, like just go, thank you so much for your advice, and then ignore it. Take advice from people who are supportive of your dreams, and in particular, people who are living the life that you crave. Okay, be a weirdo. Be okay with being a weirdo. 2, I'm a beginner yoga teacher. So a lot of people assume that because I'm traveling the world and I'm teaching workshops in different countries every week, that I must have been teaching for like 10 years or something. No. Before I started traveling, I had been teaching about 8 months. And now I've been traveling for like 11 months. So yeah, I mean, I've been teaching for less than 2 years. And I want to bring this up because so many people never go for their dreams because they have this like if-then mentality. So perhaps you've caught yourself saying something like, if I just get my 300-hour teacher training, then I'll be ready to teach internationally. Or if I just teach for a couple more years, then I'll be able to get paid work abroad. Or, for all you non-yoga teachers out there, maybe it's, if I just get this amount of money, then I'll be ready to go and like book a flight and go travel. Listen, I happen to believe that the fact that I've been teaching for less than 2 years does not disqualify me from calling myself an international yoga teacher and going traveling. Why can't you get further training or the experience that you want, or even make that money that you think that you want, that you need, while you're abroad? What's the difference if you get another 200 hours of teaching experience in your hometown or on a beautiful yoga platform overlooking the Pacific Ocean in Nicaragua? Because that's what I did. I'm still working up to my 1,000 hours, and I'm doing it in my 20th country so far this year. So just remember that. There's no right time to take that leap of faith and start living your dreams. You'll always have something saying like, oh, I just need this, I just need that. Just put those thoughts aside and start thinking, I can do it now. Third thing about me, I'm a fear facer. I might even go so far to say I'm an expert fear facer. I don't know if that qualifies me. I'm going to call myself an expert fear facer because I've done it a lot. I think you can think of facing your fears like a skill, like anything else. And so it's something that gets easier with practice. And so we're going to look at it this way, like it's a skill, which means you can start small and build your way up to it. So you have your comfort zone. You don't have to like jump way out into a place that makes you feel anxious and uncomfortable. You just push a little bit beyond that comfort zone. And I've been perhaps where some of you are right now, working in a job that I hated, feeling stuck in a toxic relationship, knowing that I wanted a different lifestyle, but feeling so scared to do anything about it. I've had times in my life, yes, times, that's multiple, that I've been scared out of my mind because I'm in a situation where I know I have to do something so scary that I really don't want to do it, except that just by doing it, I'll ultimately be happier. On the other side of fear is what you want. So just keep that in mind. On the other side of the fear is what you want. And listen, I didn't jump straight into being a total nomad. I kind of built my way up to it. I did smaller little trips and traveling journeys before I went completely on the road as a nomad. And I even started with a lot of help from another yoga teacher who travels around, Dylan Werner. Some of you may know him. And I began as his assistant. So I'm going to go a little bit more into that later. So I just want to let you know, you don't, if you're thinking like, okay, I want to be a total nomad traveling yoga teacher, but you've never been out of your country before, maybe you can. Maybe you're the kind of person who's ready to just like go for it. But if you're feeling like, oh, I can't quite bring myself to even imagine doing that, then don't. Take a smaller step. So all these things have led me to be a world traveler. And so we come full circle. That's why we're here, is how can you do that too? More so, well, okay, just want to let you know, you can. you can do it too. Okay? Any thoughts going on in there telling you you can't, just ignore them. You can. So if you're still here listening, you're still here, then there's a part of you that's keeping you here, I reckon, not going, no, actually this isn't for me. So listen to that part of you. So whatever you've been told, whatever you've always thought, you can have this lifestyle. Sitting, working from your laptop, looking out at the beach, coconut in hand. Or, if beaches and coconuts aren't your thing, then that's not the point. The point is that we all have dreams and goals, and only a few people actually make that leap of faith towards attaining them. And I want you to be one of those people. Once again, this webinar is not going to cover things that you can Google. I'm not going to give you a checklist of do this, don't do that. If you do this, then things will be awesome. And if you do this, then things will be awful. I'm trusting all of you to be intelligent enough that if Google can answer a question, then that's what Google is for. We're going to be covering the more intangible things, like fear. So, topic 1. I've broken this down into 3 topics. First topic is how to find work, because that's the biggest question that I get asked. And so here we go. I'm not gonna talk about visas. I'm not gonna talk about how to write out your resume or CV, because Google can answer those questions for you. I'm going to talk about the internal, the deeper journey, what it takes, like, on a deeper level, to go out there and be in a foreign country, or maybe not necessarily a foreign country, but somewhere that is new to you, and get paid and be over the moon happy. So, first of all, you don't have to be a completely nomadic, traveling to a different country every week kind of traveling yoga teacher. So the how you find work will greatly depend on what kind of traveling yoga teacher you want to be. Or traveling whatever. So there's more than one way to travel the world and get paid, and not one of those ways is wrong. So just as we are all living different lives, we can tailor our dreams to suit our individual needs and desires. So for example, maybe you've got kids. You're not going to pack a suitcase and go travel the world and leave your kids behind. You make it work for you. Maybe you go on the weekends to go teach in some cool new place. Or you take your kids with you during the school holidays. Or you keep your base and you teach workshops somewhere else once a month. Something like that. Or if you are ready to just pack up everything and go, again, doesn't have to be like what I'm doing. You might find a resort or something where you can get 6 months a work exchange or something like this, just teaching yoga for 6 months, and then during that 6 months you plan your next stay and you're there for 4 months. You can do like longer stretches where you're able to really like settle in, build a little community, get to know that area. Or maybe you do want to be one of these people who visits 45 countries in a year, spending just a week or 2 in each place, teaching workshops every weekend. Remember, you don't have to decide which type of traveler you want to be either, because this can change. That's what I did. After traveling with Dylan, I stayed in Nicaragua for 3 months. And during that time, I worked towards becoming more of a consistent traveler. I got invited to teach workshops in New York and Los Angeles, and that's when I hit the road without any other plans. I just had 2 workshops planned, 2 locations. So the kind of traveler you want to be, though, can also depend greatly on the work that you get. So if you're offered a teaching job or some sort of job somewhere for 4 months, you might be like, great, okay, I've got the next 4 months sorted, and so that's the direction that you take, because I got offered to teach these workshops in the States, and I was getting a little bit sunburnt in Nicaragua. I decided, okay, let's give this a go. So it will likely depend on the kind of work that you can get. But don't expect straight away that you can just go city to city teaching workshops, especially if you're new to teaching yoga, and you don't have much of an online presence either. It's going to take a while to build a name for yourself. I mean, I still have weeks here and there where I don't have any jobs. So if you're worried about not being able to pay your way and not having an income, then it may be best to find a job where you can stay put for a few months and use that time to look for your next teaching gig, which is what I did when I was in Nicaragua. I was contacting everybody I know, getting ready to take these next steps. So I'll go a little bit more into that. So how do you get that first paid job? Well, first of all, it may not be paid. You can train or volunteer or assist. So a lot of resorts, for example, will take a teacher on and they'll provide you with accommodation and food, and in exchange you teach a yoga class or 2 a day. And this also goes for non-yoga teacher type positions. Maybe if you're massage therapist, or you can cook or wash the dishes or teach English. So the great thing about this is that chances are you're going to have plenty of free time, because most places, if they're not paying you, then they know they can't expect too much of you. And so with that free time, you'll be able to teach some private clients, or maybe if you do have another skill set like massage or teaching English or something, then you can build up some private clients and start to earn money while you don't have any overheads, because you're having your food and accommodation covered. So that's money in the bank for your next destination. Or, maybe it's to pay for a little hiking trip up a volcano or something on your day off. And if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have any other skills, I can only teach yoga. Guess what? A good place to learn Thai massage? Thailand. Good place to maybe train to be a yoga teacher? India. So you can start your travels getting some other qualification, or maybe even just getting your first qualification. And another benefit to this is that it gives you the time to spend in that area while you're getting the training, to kind of get some insight into what's around there. You'll meet people, and you may even find a job there before you even finish your training. For example, when I trained in India, a few people from my course, they stayed on in that area of India teaching yoga, because there were so many places around and they're constantly looking for yoga teachers. So the point is, it's tons easier to find work when you're in a place. You can speak to people, you can wander the streets or walk down the beach, and there's tons out there that's like not online. But I'm trying to stay organized here, so I'm going to stick to my notes. I'll get to that later. I love tea. Okay. But it is important that you find, or you know what you already have, your unique skill. So know what it is that you really love to teach, or maybe it's something that you're well known for, what people ask you to teach a lot of, and really sell yourself on that topic. Sell yourself as an expert on that topic, so that people don't see you as just like some random yoga teacher or chef, marketing expert, whatever other professions are out there amongst you listeners. So you're not just another yoga teacher. You're a yoga teacher who's really good at teaching back bends or meditation or incorporating essential oils into the class, whatever it is. There's something that you're really good at and that other people in your field are not so good at. There is going to be something that you excel at that other people are going to be like, wow, she's like so good at that. Find what that is. Own it. Own it. Even if you have to blag it at first. This is where the confidence comes in. Okay. You have to be confident in yourself. Be confident that you have something worth sharing, because you do. Nobody in the world is quite like you. So people want to learn from you. They want to work with you. And so, okay, there's like 350 or 400 people signed up for this. I don't know how many of you are still here with me now, but ultimately, as many people that are listening to this, there's that many different paths to find work, depending on your personal skills, your experience, your goals, your intentions. And that's something I would love to offer all of you, is just work with you one-on-one and help you work towards those goals. But in the end, the one thing that's relevant to all of you, no matter who you are or where you're coming from, is that it just takes confidence, self-belief that you can make this work. It's not tangible. It's not a checklist that you've got where once you tick everything off, you're good to go. It's something you have to find and cultivate. And listen, I didn't always consider myself a confident person. And I mean, there are days when I'm full of confidence, and then there are days when I'm like zero. It's a constant practice. But, okay, so take this example. When I was in Thailand, I wanted to get a scooter because it's a lot easier to get around and a lot more fun. But I had never ridden a scooter before. I went to rent my scooter, and the woman at the place, she said, "Have you ever ridden one before?" And I was like, "No, I haven't. I don't really know what to do." And she was like, "Oh, maybe you go somewhere else." And she wouldn't let me rent the scooter, because she was like, my low confidence made her probably think that I was going to go wreck her scooter. So, but she had like the lowest prices in town. So I went back the next day. It was a different woman. And so she asked the same. She was like, "Have you ever ridden a scooter before?" And so I was just like, "Yeah, I got this. I've ridden scooters all over the place. I know how this works." And so then she took my word for it. trusted in my confidence and handed me the keys over. So then I had to I had to fake it. I had to keep this confidence going. And so even though inside I was going, oh God, I don't know what to do. Oh, I hope I don't die. Externally, I was just like, turn this thing on. Like, didn't quite know how to turn it on. Didn't know what to do, so she had to help me. And I was like, oh, okay, oh yeah, it's different to the ones that I've done before. And then I had to like drive off like with all this external appearance of being confident, while inside I was like, and by the time I like got on the road, I actually was confident. And this is how confidence works: is you just trick your brain. You can trick your brain because it's like that positive thinking kind of mentality. As soon as you start to say these things, to think these thoughts, and to live in a way that you want to be perceived, even if you don't really believe it deep down, it's just kind of like switches things in your brain. And over time, like, even though you might be like externally you're going like, yeah, I can ride a scooter, and inside you're like, you say it enough times, you start to believe it. So that's how confidence works. And so it's about putting yourself out there. And I'm not saying go around like telling lies. I realized that I was slightly immoral, I guess, by telling this woman that I had ridden a scooter before. But it's like going back to the idea that, you know, oh, I'm a yoga teacher with less than 2 years experience. I can't possibly start traveling the world. And just changing that thinking to, yeah, I've been teaching for a year and a half, and I am an international yoga teacher. If you believe it, if you speak it, other people will believe it. They treat you the way that they perceive you. And when other people treat you that way, then it's easier to then kind of move into that role. So it's just about knowing that, so understanding your worth. And even if you're like, okay, I think I'm really good at teaching arm balances, but I don't know. Just change that to, you know what, I'm good at arm balances, and so I can teach arm balances. Yeah, that's my thing. I teach arm balances like nobody else. 'Cause you don't. I mean, you do. Nobody else is going to teach arm balances like you, or whatever it is that whatever your skill is. Nobody's going to do it like you. So believe in yourself. And you just got to go out there and blag it at first if you need to. So take that confidence and apply it. So here's what you do. Reach out to all of your friends. This is what I did. Reach out to all of your friends, your followers, everybody you know, and say you're looking for opportunities to work abroad. I changed my Instagram bio to international yoga teacher, or traveling yoga teacher, I think it was, before I even started traveling. I messaged all of my fellow teacher training students, the people who did the yoga teacher training with me, because they were from all over the world. I messaged them all saying, hey, do you have a studio that would host me, where I could go and teach workshops? I put on my Instagram stories like, hey, I would love to teach in your studio wherever you are in the world. Reach out to me, let me know how I can make it happen. Just think about everybody that you can get in contact with, friends and family, but also complete strangers, followers. Just put it out there. And also expect a lot of no's. That's going to happen. Especially starting out. People are going to be like, who is this? And also expect a lot of silence. A lot of people just won't get back to you at all. But don't let that deter you. Just start talking about it to everyone. Start putting it out there. That you're a traveling yoga teacher, or you're an international speaker, or you're a global essential oils expert. Whatever your thing is. As soon as you start talking about it, you'll change how you see yourself, and then others will therefore start to see you in that same way. And just trust me, this is how the universe works. Yeah. So I could go on and on and on about this topic, but we still have a couple more things to cover. So the second topic is how to make money work. Okay, so we'll just be honest. We yogis, yoga teachers, free-spirited people who like to travel and see new cultures, we know that money's not everything. And we know that there are more important things in life than money. And so I don't want you to think that this is about like swindling people out of their money, like just becoming like a business person that just wants to like make money and doesn't care about anybody. Like it's not like that. You can make money and do good things with it. And we need money. I mean, let's face it. If you don't have money, then you're gonna struggle. Okay, so first of all, unless you're one of these people who's like perfectly cool with just showing up in a foreign country with like $50 in your pocket and no plans, then you're probably going to want a little bit of savings. I certainly did. I saved up for several months before I went traveling. Now, how much you want is going to be dependent on you. It depends on what kind of traveler you're going to be. And there's no right or wrong here. If you know you only want to stay in hotels with air conditioning and saunas, then brilliant. But you're going to need more money than if you're happy to like slum it in a jungle hut with the scorpions. And chances are you're somewhere in between those. So I would suggest having an idea of roughly how much you need to have. So it's two things, like what level of luxury you want whenever you're traveling, and depending on where you're going to travel, of course, but also how long you're comfortable potentially not having an income. So if you think, okay, if I can get there and I'm gonna go to India, up in the north, up in the Himalayas, where you can get a room for like $3 a night, really basic, and you're okay with like just 2 weeks, then and you feel confident that after 2 weeks you'll find some paid work, then think, okay, I'm gonna need like $50. But if you want to know that if for 2 whole months you don't have any paid work and you want to stay in nice hotels, then that's going to be more money. So kind of figure out like where you feel like, okay, this is where I can make it. But don't get too stuck here, okay? So just have an idea of roughly how much, but it can be a little bit prohibitive, this kind of thinking. Okay, for example, I have a friend who, he always said, I'm going to save up 10,000 pounds and then I'll be ready to go traveling. I think he's still saving. 10,000 pounds is a lot of money. unless you're planning on just staying in like 5-star hotels and not ever working and not getting paid for anything that you do, then I don't think you need 10,000 pounds. So just, if you know you want a certain level of luxury, then you're going to need a little bit more money for those possible times when you're not earning money. But in case you haven't realized by now, this webinar is not about giving you a checklist or a template of do's and don'ts. I want to give you more like the internal tools of what you want. And here's the thing that I've realized about money is it's like an energy. It comes and it goes. The more you give, the more you get. And letting fear of losing money or running out of money rule your thoughts and your actions, it's going to lead to a life of like stagnation. Fear of running out of money can ruin your life. There's countless examples of people who have ended their own lives because they lost their fortunes, or it's change that mentality. If you are fearful about running out of money, start to change your thinking. Instead of thinking about you work for money, think that money works for you. Trust that what you need will come, and what is out there is yours for the taking. So just ask yourself this, like, how would you deal with the possible situation where you're abroad and you can't find work? And you still have to pay for places to stay and to eat, and meanwhile you're not making any money. This is definitely a time when fear is going to start to set in. And when we're fearful, our thoughts and our decisions become impulsive and panicked. So kind of like put yourself into that situation and understand what you would do, and start to think about, what do you need to have in place to make sure that if that happens, you're going to be okay. So a savings is like a backup plan. But you could also have a backup plan. Maybe your backup plan is you can always go back home. Or maybe it's some extra skill that you have. Maybe you used to teach English and you really don't like it, but you know that at a push, you're really good at going in and going, all right, hire me, English teacher, or washing dishes. Maybe you used to work in a restaurant, and the thing is, you can make it work. For me, I try and stay away from my savings and live off of the money that I make, but there have been times when plans for work have fallen through, or my workshops didn't sell as well as I'd hoped, and by the time I pay for the flight and the visa and food, I'm actually out of pocket, even after the studio pays me. It just happens. So I have my savings. That's my backup plan. And my backup plan is knowing that worst case scenario, I get down to the last bit of money that I have, I use that to book a flight back home, back to like where my parents live, or to my sister's house or something. But anyway, just if you refrain from making an impulsive decision based on fear and just sit and think for a while, you might be able to find a creative way of making money. Maybe sell some things that you don't need, offer your services to everyone and anyone, sell some products online, or just simply cut back on your spending. but just remember, no matter what happens, you'll handle it. Don't let fear rule your thoughts. And I touched on that a little bit earlier. And I want to emphasize again that sometimes just, so I'm going to go into this a little bit later as well. It's one thing to apply for a job online or send an email out. It's another thing to just be in a place and see what you find. Like I mentioned, if you're doing a training, for example, somewhere, you're going to see while you're there all of what's around. So for me, for example, in Nicaragua, I walked down the beach once just exploring, and by stopping at one place, just because it looked like a nice place to do some yoga, I just, started like doing a little bit of yoga. I got one guy coming up to me and he asked me for a private lesson, which turned into a regular, I met with him twice a week for the next 3 weeks, giving him private lessons. And another guy who had just opened a place, just made of bamboo, or I don't think they don't have bamboo in Nicaragua. It was made of sticks or something. But he'd built this beautiful yoga platform, and he was looking for a yoga teacher, and he offered me a job. I didn't need it. I had a gig, but these guys weren't online. I wasn't gonna find this work online. I wasn't gonna find this work in any way except for just being there. And once you're in a place, the opportunities just open up. If you've traveled before, then you know what I mean by this. There's nothing like just getting to a place. You can read all the guidebooks and read blogs and all of the, look at everything on Airbnb and Booking.com and even the websites, the traveling yoga teacher websites, they all can be helpful, but ultimately the best thing to do is just to go there. And if you've got a little bit of money saved up and you've got some confidence and trust in yourself, you know your unique skill, you know what you can offer people, then you're good to go. Okay, I've been talking for a long time. Let's move on to topic 3, how to get started. Okay, and once again, I'm not going to give you a checklist. We're all different. We're all on different journeys. And so it's going to be different for every one of you, how you get started on your journey. But I'll give you a few tips. But first and foremost, I'm going to share something that was, I guess in a way, life-changing for me. So I was at a yoga festival. This is last July in England. I went to a yoga festival, and there were a few traveling yoga teachers. Dylan Werner was one of them. And I asked him, as well as the other two, how do you do it? What do you need to get started? How did you live this lifestyle? All those questions that you guys have asked me and why I'm here. And because I just looked at these guys and I was like, I want to do that. Well, they all gave me some, they all pretty much said the same thing, actually. But it was Matthew Boldrin, who's an amazing yoga teacher, and a wonderful person. And what he said to me really stuck with me. He looked me in the eyes and he said, I bought a flight. And that's it. How to get started? Well, you can have your savings, you can have your trainings, you can have your suitcase packed, you can have everything you know you want it. You've told everybody you're going to do it. you're all ready to go, but ultimately the first step is taking that first step. It's just going. Book a flight, or get in your car and start driving if you're not going like abroad. It's just taking action. You can sit on your couch your whole life and dream and set your goals, but ultimately you have to take action. And it's the same with anything in life, right? I mean, for all you yogis out there, did you start your yoga practice by sitting on the couch and thinking about how nice it would be to stretch your hamstrings in downward facing dog? No, you unrolled your mat and you got moving. And here's the thing. It's the scariest thing that you'll do. That first leap, that first step. Because you don't know what's on the other side. That's the reason you haven't done it yet, is because that getting started, it's a leap of faith. It's leaping into the unknown. And that's why it's scary, is because you don't really know what to expect once you take that first step. But that is the hardest part. Once you're there, you'll figure it out. It's easy. Believe me. There's everything that you want is on the other side of fear. So the scariest part is over once you take that first leap of faith. And what happens after there is an adventure. So we've touched on how to find work and how to make money. So you can assume that by the time that you've arrived in this new place, you'll at least have an idea of where you're going and some plan for how you're going to pay your way. Here's my mantra, and feel free to adopt it yourself. I'll handle it. Just go through life just knowing I'll handle it. I'm going to recommend 2 books to you because they're both very relevant to what I've been talking about, and books that have really changed the way I've thought about things. The first is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. It's a very old book, one of the original self-help books, but it really is just a very useful toolkit to living life and not letting fear get in the way. Basically, though, it's just go, okay, I'm scared. I'll handle it. The other one is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You don't have to read the whole thing. In the first bits, he talks about this idea of money working for you rather than you working for money, and how changing your mentality towards money can open up a whole new way of just going through life and making money kind of come to you. So just like facing your fears is like a skill, yoga is a skill, traveling is a skill. And solo traveling more so. I mean, probably a lot of you are like, yeah, I've been abroad and everything, but I've always been with friends. Like, what scares me is just going on my own. It's a skill. And so like anything, it takes practice to become more skilled at it. Your comfort zone only expands by pushing yourself beyond it, but you can push that zone bit by bit. So, start simple and small. For me, my first time abroad on my own, I did a yoga retreat in Morocco. I was picked up in the airport by somebody from the resort. Then all of the activities were planned out. Even though I was on my own, I knew that other people at this villa were also going to be solo travelers, and so I knew that everything was taken care of. So that was like a little bit outside my comfort zone. I made it to the airport on my own. I made it to Morocco on my own. But then after that, everything was taken care of. So that's one way you can do it. Go to a really touristy place. You know, don't feel like you have to be like the super adventurer if that scares the crap out of you. Go to a touristy place. Like, they're touristy for a reason. They're usually lovely. Take a guided tour. Sign up for a yoga retreat like I did. And then just start to expand a little bit more, going off the beaten track. But you don't even need to leave your own country. Maybe just travel to a part of your own country that you've never been to before, that you want to see a little bit more of. I mean, especially, I know a lot of you are in the States. Like, how many of you have seen all of the States? Like, it's a huge, varied country. Same for Europe. And then you don't have to even worry about things like visas and currency exchange, maybe not even language barriers. So start simple, start small. And like Eleanor Roosevelt said, do something every day that scares you. But it doesn't have to be so scary and so out there that you just get completely put off by it altogether. Like I said, I've been traveling since I was 18, but I started with guided tours. I started with retreats. I built up to it. The first time I was actually a solo traveler, like with nothing planned, I didn't even realize that it was an accident. I was supposed to be, I booked this trip thinking I was going to have my friend join me, and then something happened, she couldn't join, and so I was like, okay, that's okay, I'll just go on my own. And it wasn't until I was in the airport that I was like, oh, I'm going to be on my own in this country where I don't speak the language. And so I was a little bit scared, but I was also excited because I was like, but it's okay. I got this. I'll handle it. So build up to it. Whatever that is. Whatever that is. Whether it's traveling, becoming completely nomadic, whether it's moving to a new city. Yeah. Feel the fear, do it anyway. I'll handle it. And know that you can start small. The other thing that I want to touch on, and then we'll be wrapping it up, is to know your intention. Okay. It's easy to look at somebody else's life and say, I want that. And then you don't really know why you want it. Okay? So ask yourself, what is it that I really want? What do I want to get out of this experience? What reason do I have for wanting this lifestyle? And so ask why. Answer yourself that question. But then maybe when you've got your answer, ask yourself why again. Go a little bit deeper. Keep going deeper and deeper so you really start to understand yourself. This is going to be so helpful. And it's something that I think we all should do all the time, no matter what we're doing. But especially when you're about to make a big decision like go traveling. Understand why. And remember, there's no right or wrong. Like, I'm not saying like if you come up with some certain question, some answer that you shouldn't go. Just know your intention. And also, understand what it is that you want, but also understand what it is that you don't want. Sometimes knowing what we don't want can help give us the answers as well. So for me it was, I don't want to live in Wales anymore. Wales is a beautiful country, but it's not my home. and so then I thought, I want to find somewhere else to live, but I don't know where. I feel like I'm homeless because where I grew up doesn't feel like home to me. It never really felt like home. And then I moved to Wales where it never really felt like home. And so for me, like, my intention is to travel the world, experience different places, meet the communities, like get involved a little bit with the communities, and start to find a place where I feel like, yes, this is where I belong. That's my intention for my traveling, as well as using it as an opportunity to grow and experience teaching all over the world, sharing my passion for yoga, which has changed my life for the better in every way, and hopefully help other people along in that journey as well. But ultimately, I realized that for me, it wasn't about like becoming an international yoga teacher and like trying to be famous or something, or trying to be like Dylan Werner. That reminds me, I'm going to tell you something about that too. But for me, it was actually about finding a home. I want to find a home. But yeah, I forgot to mention that earlier. I was going to talk about it with like how to get started, how to find work, assisting. For me, I started with Dylan. I assisted Dylan for 2 months. Now, I'll be honest with you, there's not a whole lot of yoga teachers or in other professions where they'll be able to afford to just take somebody with them, assisting them, but there are lots of opportunities. So, for example, maybe there's a lot of yoga teachers that you really love to follow online, and they do their own teacher trainings or they do retreats. Reach out to them and ask them if you can assist. And again, expect to hear silence or no, but you never know. This is what I did with Dylan. I'd met him a few times. He was like, I would say, an acquaintance. I reached out to him. I said, look, if you ever feel like, you need some assistance, I saw that you're doing a teacher training next May. If you need somebody to help, just keep me in mind. Never would have dreamed that he'd ask me to travel with him. I had in mind that maybe I could go and join his teacher training for like a discounted price in exchange for like helping him organize it or something. So, just put it out there. A lot of yoga teachers are at the point where they can afford it and they need it. They need an assistant. Don't expect everything in return. Don't be like, oh, what? You're not gonna pay for everything and pay me a salary? But just offer your services. Just remember that the community out there, whether it's yoga or maybe you're, in graphic design, I don't know, massage or teaching English or whatever it is, there's a community. There's other people who do what you do, and we're human beings. We need to share. We need to exchange thoughts and ideas and all of this kind of stuff. And if somebody's already doing it really well, a lot of times, people just like me, like I'm sitting here, I've been talking for an hour and 4 minutes now, because I want to share with you everything that I've learned. So reach out to those people, and remember whoever it is that you're reaching out to, whether it's yoga studios or retreat centers or resorts. Don't make it about yourself. Don't be like, oh, this is what I want a job. Offer like how you can help them, and don't do it like in a superficial way. Like, really think about it. Like, what does this person what does this resort need? Like, what can I offer them? How can I make it easier for them, better for them? And then then tell them that, communicate that to them. And do it in person if you can. Cold call emails, they're not going to be received as well as just showing up, which is why, again, I recommend just going for it. Remember, you can always book a return flight and come back to where you started. I bet you won't, though. And if you do, you're gonna have an experience, a learning experience, and a new education. You will have grown. Even if you go out there, it doesn't work, and you come back, you're not back to where you started, because you got that experience. And you can always do it again. You can always go, okay, that didn't work. What can I do differently? So, I've covered all the main topics. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you are going to have a lot more like further questions for me. I am certain that you're all going to want to message me, email me all your questions, and here's the thing, I would love to be able to work with you on a personal basis and help you work towards your individual goals. And I can do that by all means. And that's something that I offer, is coaching. So if that's something that you want, some like one-to-one coaching, please get in touch with me and we can discuss your needs and what my rates are. I do have rates for that, because I do have to charge for my time, which I'm sure all of you can understand. Now, if you think that maybe you don't need like one-on-one time, though, what I can offer is, if maybe there's a group of you who just want to go a little bit deeper, then as a group, you pay a little bit less, because you're not having like a one-to-one, it's like a group class, yoga class, versus a one-to-one private class. What we can do is set up like a Facebook group, a private Facebook group, so we're all able to kind of support each other, and you guys can pay collectively to for me to help work through things. I don't know if this is what you guys want. I have no idea. And here's the thing, like, there's all these like webinars out there that and I'm supposed to, like, if I were to stick to the template of like how to run a webinar, I would be using like all these like marketing psychological things to make you think that you have to pay me money. And I was getting really stressed about that, and I thought, that's not what I want. It's not for me. Other people do really well with that kind of thing, but not me. I'm not trying to make money out of you guys here. I created this webinar. I started advertising this webinar because I just want to share what I know. But equally, I don't have the time to just like chat on the phone to all of you as much as I would love to, unless I'm able to get something out of it myself. So that's where I am. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. I'm not, if you guys are like, meh, nope, I'm good, I don't need any more of this, that's fine. But just get in touch. Email me or message me on Facebook or Instagram or however, and let me know if you do want more from me and you're willing to pay me for it, because yeah. I think I'm done. If you're still here, if you're actually still listening to this, thank you. Love to you all. Go be your awesome self. Namaste.